do I remember going to the football. Yeah. Going to the football was a lifestyle, but it was a lifestyle built on hopes and dreams over logic, statistics, money, common sense. It was a potential lifetime of disappointment that you would spend in the vague hope that you might one day see some sort of success or even glory. Like the team I used to support were called Fulham, and they played in what used to be London. And we were quite good. We weren't one of the big clubs, but we were okay. And one night we played this Italian outfit called Juventus. And they were big dogs. But we gave them a hiding. It was something like 4-1. And you live your entire life in the hope you'll see a night like that. The irony was, I wasn't allowed to go to that game because I wasn't a season ticket holder, so I didn't qualify for a ticket. So I'd spent years going to see that team, and their one night of proper glory, I wasn't even allowed to go. But that was going to the football. That was most football fans. There were football fans who would spend their entire life and never see any success. Unless you supported one of the big teams, one of the rich clubs, because there was a handful of really rich clubs and they just won everything. And some people would support them, didn't matter where they grew up, didn't matter where they were from, they would support that team just so they could celebrate winning stuff. Glory hunters, they were called. And they were as bad as the leg hunters that roam around here. And they were as despised as much as well. They just supported clubs because they were successful. The way it used to work was any town would have a club, or if a big town would maybe have 2 clubs. London had 7, 8, 9 clubs. And you would generally support wherever you were born. It was a contract. I mean, I wasn't born in Fulham, but at least I lived like 7 miles away or something. So that was acceptable. I think the club nearest to me would have been West Ham, but where I grew up, the nearest to where I grew up would have been Gillingham, but again. So you were supposed to, what was the question? Going to the football. Well, that was a ritual. It was like a day-long ritual, really. You'd all meet up in the pub. And the thing was, the pub was warm, had beer, and would have football on the telly. And then you'd leave that to go to a cold stadium, pay 50, 60 quid, and not have any beer, because the line was about 20 minutes long and the game kicked off in 10 minutes. If you got a beer there, you'd miss what you'd paid to see. Why? Well, you weren't allowed beer at the seat. You weren't allowed to take beer in. You weren't even allowed at the football to sit with a beer. I don't know. I honestly can't remember. I think it would have made it too much fun, probably, because the honest truth is that going to the football was a miserable experience. You used to fool yourself into thinking, oh, let's go to the match. Go to the match, go to the game. And you'd forget, you wouldn't forget, you knew it would be rubbish, but you sort of convince yourself every single week, let's go to the football. And it wasn't great. It was sometimes fun. Like there was, you would sing songs. You would be in thousands of people, or even at a smaller club, there'd be hundreds of people, but you would sing songs together at the players or at the other team or at the other fans. So I can't remember what you'd sing, but they would be funny. Be like, you're not very good at football. You're not very good at football. You're not very good at football, but we, on the other hand, are good. So take that on board. You know, then that would be to encourage your team or to put off. If the other, because the other fans would be in a group over in another bit, and if you were winning, sometimes they'd start leaving before the end to get in their car, avoid the rush or avoid the humiliation, get the train or whatever. So you could say, "Do you have to go home? Do you have to go home now? Do you have to go home to your house?" And that would be, you would be mocking them. And that was good. That was fun. And lots of people you go to the football, lots of people would wear shirts, the same shirts as the players. I never bothered. You know, people did it to sort of show that they really liked the club, that they liked it more than you in a way. But you just spent 60 quid to see people play football for a few minutes, and I think you've proven you like the club. The footballers, I don't know, it was expensive. And the thing was, the footballers themselves, they were millionaires. I mean, even the bad ones were millionaires. And when you were at the football, it was different to watching it on telly, because on telly, it just followed who was kicking the ball, followed the action. But if you were at the football, you didn't have to say the action's there. You could just look over here. And you could look at players out of position, in their position, waiting for the ball, and they'd be chatting to each other. You'd see it all the time. Opposition players, and they'd be like, "You all right? Just a little chat. How much did you get this week?" "They gave me £250,000. £250,000. And you just see them, and you just thought, this whole experience is going on a credit card that I can't afford to pay off. And they're chatting about, get £250,000 a week. I'm glad it ended, football. If I'm honest, I'm glad it ended. Serve them right. Slam spike's better now. Slam spike's better, apart from the death. But at least it's honest. And at least it's free.